We have some bad news today, товарищи, because Ukraine has lost Lysychansk, which has been one of the few remaining cities under the control of Ukrainian forces in Luhansk region. How important is the city of Lysychansk for both sides? Will Russia stop there? And can this war be over in the nearest future? And these are the questions that we'll be talking about in today's video. What's up, investors? Jeffrey Telford and people of Reddit, it's the Russian Dude, and this is your daily update on Russian-Ukrainian war as of Monday, July 4th. You can see the main events of the day to my right, along with the timestamps. Welcome back everyone, and happy Independence Day. Alright, so another significant stage of this war has been completed. And what I'm talking about here is that recently Ukrainian army was given a command to surrender the city of Lysychansk. This order was basically the same as for those survivors in Azovstal factory in Mariupol, which is just like abandon your posts and save your lives. And for those of you who have been watching my videos for the last month, you already understand the importance of this city. And so that you know exactly what I'm talking about here, I'll be using this map. As you can see right here, both cities of Severodonetsk and Lysychansk are under full control of the Russian army. And as you can see from here, after capturing the city of Lysychansk, Russian forces were able to advance significantly next to the borders of Luhansk region, which basically means that at this very moment, both Luhansk and Donetsk region are under full control of Russian army. Another direction where Russian army is trying to attack is to capture the city of Bakhmut. And the importance of this city, it is because there is a major highway that connects the cities of Bakhmut and Lysychansk. At this very moment, Russia is attacking this highway, but so far they do not have any significant progress. In addition to that, Russia is also trying to attack the city of Slavyansk, but so far Ukrainian forces are able to resist these attacks as well. In addition to that, Russian army is concentrating the majority of its artillery strikes against the region of Kharkov. As you can see from this map, this region is basically bordering with the territory of Russia. And previously, there were reports that there were several artillery strikes against the Russian city of Belgorod. And because of this, Russia tries to push Ukrainian forces away from its territory. Speaking about the south of the country, it is estimated that Ukrainian forces at this very moment are only kilometers away from the region of Kherson. And obviously Russia does not want to give up this extremely important strategic city, that is why it is concentrating its artillery strikes against the city of Mykolaiv. But Ukraine is not giving up and they are trying to advance closer to the borders of this region. It is also estimated by the Defense Intelligence of the United States that Russia does not have enough manpower to keep Kherson region. That is why in the very nearest future we might potentially see a very big success of Ukrainians in the south of their own country, which is indeed confirmed by this article by The Economist magazine that Ukraine will indeed launch counteroffensive very soon. And the reason why they are still waiting to do this, it is because obviously they are still accumulating all the necessary offensive weapons, which if you remember is that according to the advisor to the president of Ukraine, Alexei Arestovich, Ukraine will have enough of these weapons somewhere approximately in the middle end of this summer. And even though we have some very bad news that Russia was able to take the control over the city of Lysychansk, we have a very good news from Ukrainian side as well. And what I'm talking about here is that Ukraine was able to completely liberate the Snake Island. This island is located in the Black Sea and has a very important strategic location. And previously it was occupied by Russians, but now Ukrainians were able to take full control over this island. And it was reported that while Russians were running away from this island, they exploded all the remaining military vehicles that they had on this island. And it is estimated that the price of all lost Russian military equipment and vehicles on this island was to be around $915 million. But one of the main questions remains the same. So Russia took the control over the city of Lysychansk, and now they have the control over Luhansk region. Does this mean that the war can be over in the nearest future? Because if you remember, one of the main goals of Russia in this war is to liberate the east of Ukraine, which consists of two main regions, Luhansk and Donetsk region. And now it looks like that Russia has a pretty good control over the both of them. What does this mean for the future of this war? What I personally think is that in the nearest future we might see that these war actions will slow down significantly. Russia kinda achieved its goals in the east, and it also understands that holding the south will be very complicated. And at the same time, Ukraine is concentrating significantly in the south of their own country, which basically means the main theater of action, in my personal opinion, will now switch from the east to south of Ukraine. And since Ukraine is accumulating more and more offensive weapons almost every single week, I see it as a big success for Ukraine in the nearest future. And by the way, if you like this style of daily news reporting, feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel. You can also join my free Discord, and for those of you who want to support Ukraine with us, please make sure to check my Patreon. All the links can be found in the description. Thanks so much, and let's continue. Welcome to another episode of ridiculous Russian propaganda, and today we have this video where obviously fake Zelensky, under the instructions of President of Chechnya Ramzan Kadyrov, is signing the act of capitulation or surrender, whatever you call it, of Ukraine. In this video, the office of the President of Ukraine is perfectly reconstructed, and even the actor himself is using this famous voice of Zelensky. All of this done is under proper instructions from Ramzan Kadyrov, who is saying, "Go on, Vladimir, sign this, sign this." And even though it was pretty obvious that this was a joke, the Russian media did not take this video lightly. Some of the most ridiculous Russian propagandists started talking about this video as it was real. There were even several news articles on Yandex main screen, and for those of you who do not know, Yandex is basically the equivalent of Google in Russia, and these articles were saying that Zelensky surrendered. On this picture we can see the list of countries who are still buying fossil fuels from Russia. It is pretty expected that China will be one of the first countries on this list, but what may come unexpected to some of you is that Germany is on the second place. As you can see, even though the Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, always talks about supporting Ukraine, his country still buys much of fossil fuels from Russia. And to be honest, it is very hard to blame him for trying to sit on two chairs at the same time. Because all of us already know that Germany has a very bad reputation because of all the wars in the past, and it just looks like that Olaf Scholz doesn't want to make the same mistakes. Vladimir Putin has confirmed that he will appear on G20 Summit, which will happen on November 15th-16th in Bali, Indonesia. One of the main things that makes this story so special is that President Zelensky will be participating in this summit as well. And it will be very interesting to see President Putin's reaction to the President Zelensky's speech. Potentially the biggest things that will be discussed during this summit is all these barbaric actions that Russia was taking, such as for example the Bucha massacre and most recent bombing of the shopping mall in Crimean. And even though at this very moment it is pretty obvious who stays behind the attacks against the shopping mall at Crimean, the statement that Vladimir Putin made recently was as following, is that Russia never did any terroristic actions during this war, and Russia is not responsible for these attacks, because Russia only targets military objects and never civilian objects. If you remember, approximately a month ago, Ukrainian forces announced that their next #1 target will be the Crimean bridge. And this bridge is basically the only land road that connects the peninsula of Crimea and the territory of Russia. Destroying this bridge will not only become the symbol of Ukrainians defeating Russians, but it will also make impossible to send fast reinforcements by Russians into Crimean peninsula. And so, as soon as Ukrainians announced this bridge as their #1 target, Russians started preparing how they can defend this bridge. Specifically, what I'm talking about here is that recently Russia did some trainings using smoke screens, which will make the bombing of this bridge to be very complicated. And yes, in the past Russians were saying that destroying this bridge will be impossible. So now my question is, why are you preparing to defend it then? So if you remember, last month both countries of Sweden and Finland tried to join NATO, but unfortunately their application was declined by the country of Turkey. The president of Turkey, Recep Erdogan, was saying that first of all these countries, Sweden and Finland, must accept the conditions presented by Turkey. And among these conditions was that these two countries must acknowledge that the Kurdistan Workers' Party is a terroristic organization. And as of recently, the country of Turkey has renounced its ban on Sweden and Finland joining the NATO. That is why these two countries will be joining the alliance in the nearest future. And the response of Vladimir Putin to Sweden and Finland joining the NATO is that these countries are free to do whatever they want, Russia has no problem with this. But if you remember, one of the original goals of Russia to start this war was to prevent the NATO of spreading its borders. And as you can see now, with Finland joining the alliance, basically Russia will now share the same border with NATO. But for some reason Putin doesn't see a problem with this as long as Ukraine doesn't join NATO. But anyways, Putin decided to keep up with the highest standards of Russian diplomacy, and he said that even though these countries can join the alliance, Russia will respond by also putting its military objects next to the borders with NATO. Here's a very quick update about Ukraine joining the European Union. As you remember, last month Ukraine was granted with the official applicant status. And even though the whole process might take several years, this is a very big step towards joining the Union. And today the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, announced the next steps that they want to see Ukraine to do before they can accept it into the Union. And among these requirements is to increase the freedom of speech, is to decrease the influence of Ukrainian oligarchs, and to fight corruption. A couple of days ago, Turkey has detained a Russian cargo ship full of Ukrainian wheat. But as always, the response of Russian side was basically the same. We don't know where this wheat came from, it is not stolen, it is our wheat. If you stayed this long into the video, please consider becoming my channel member. Your support does mean a lot to me, and in return you will get access to channel exclusive badges, emojis and other interesting perks. Thank you so much for your attention, check the links in the description, stay safe and see you tomorrow.